You might have heard this horrible story about Danielle Johnson recently, and about how she believed that the end was near and that the only way to escape was death. And so she killed her partner and her 9-month-old baby and herself. The infamous Heaven's Gate, who 37 members attempted a mass suicide and succeeded. This is the work of fear-mongering. This is the work of fear. You see, these people were all misled. They were all deceived by fear. The cult that I mentioned previously, Heaven's Gate, they were afraid of missing out on getting to go up to God with their UFO and everything. It's a messed up story. But a lot of these deaths around religions and cults and all these suicides and stuff, it's all around fear. And with the presence of fear-mongering in our society so large, it's seeming to become more of a problem. It is when we have this fear-mongering that horrible things like this happen. If you are a Christian like myself, you might have heard the phrase "do not fear" or "do not be afraid" a couple of times. The phrase itself is mentioned 365 separate times within the Holy Bible. And it is possibly the most important message that we could remember as Christians. Because every time we are afraid, we are not trusting in God. Every time we live in fear, we are not believing that God will get us through whatever we're going through. We are fully afraid, not depending on God, but depending on a miracle from somewhere. We're not trusting in Him. This is why I believe it to be so important to get away from social media and these other apps. Of course, there are many reasons why you might want to delete social media, but I think this has probably got to be one of the most important ones. Social media, it can really get you into a constant state of fear, especially with platforms like X and Discord, Reddit, whatever. If those are problematic, they can be incredibly problematic because they can have all these people that are striking fear because they lack respect in the real world. They look for it online. And so you get people on these apps spending their time bringing fear to others. And when you have people that are already mentally ill, it boils over and horrible things happen. Social media just has a lot of negativity and a lot of things to make you anxious and fearful in some way. And this is why I strongly encourage you to get off of it. I don't want to make this whole video about social media, but I think this is a very important thing to do, especially if you're prone to fear and especially if you're like in a dark place mentally. You do not want to be on these apps if you're struggling mentally. Stop watching the news and reading the newspaper. There's all this negativity in the news. There's always something terrible happening. Some war, some mass shooting, horrible things. And what do you think this does to your brain when you listen to this stuff and watch this stuff and read this stuff all the time? It gets you in a constant state of fear, in a state of panic at how terrible the world is, People might say, oh, I need to be informed about the world. And maybe that's true, but you don't need to hear about everything every single second. You do not need to hear about the next mass shooting of the month that's already happened. If it comes up in conversation, it'll come up in conversation. And then you pray for the victims' families or the victims themselves, or you pray for everyone involved, essentially. But you don't need to surround yourself and drown yourself in fear, which is so present on the news because it's always so negative, and it's just going to bring you down and destroy you, and it'll make you fear the world when you're supposed to fear God. Every attempt from the world to make us afraid is an attempt from the devil. And so when we find ourselves in fear or afraid of the world, it is important that we turn to God. It is important we start praying, reading the scriptures. There are so many scriptures to help with fear. Here's just a few that I like myself. Proverbs 3, verses 5 to 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not feel frightened, and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Psalm 121, 7-8. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep you for your life. The Lord will keep you going and you're coming in from this time forth and forevermore. The devil cannot even look at the glory of God. He cannot even turn his eyes towards God because he's so bright. When the devil sees God, he turns away and sniggers in fear. He runs away. That is what we need to do. We need God at our side, because without him, Satan can do whatever he wants. But when he's here, Satan is powerless. Jesus loves you. Mwah.